Hi, I'm Curly Esquire. I'm coming to you to share my experience as a law student, and I've got a couple of notes. So if you see me dart to the side, I'm just trying to get back on track. When I first decided I wanted to go to law school, like many of us, I went to YouTube to see if other people like me, other women like me, women of color, had come on to chart their experiences in law school or the application process, and I didn't find that. So that's one of what I would like to do with my channel is to chart my progress in law school. Right now, it's towards the end of the spring semester. So in just a few weeks, I will have completed my first year law school, which is a major, major accomplishment. I can give myself a pat on the back. Um, and I'd like to be as authentic as possible in sharing my highs and my lows with you all. I wanted to talk today because recently my school had admitted Students Day, and there was a young lady who was a woman of color. I go to a predominantly white school. It's probably about 95% white, with the other remaining 5% representing all other minority groups. In any event, um, there was an African American student that came to visit, and so I am a BALSA member, which is the Black Law Students Association, and we were asked to, chat with her, tell her what our experiences have been like there. And so we did that. We actually had lunch with her, and the school that I attend is in a very small rural town. And so, like most people, I'm sure, who are not from that kind of environment, would say, well, what about this? What about that? And so we shared our experience. But she was insistent on finding out, well, what do you all really do for fun? And what we do for fun is study so that we can get good grades. And that was really hard for her to understand. And so she said, well, I'm wild. And again, like most people, we judge people by their exterior, and she seemed like a really nice, sweet girl. But she said in front of the few other girls that were there with us at lunch and a dean who attended lunch with us that she was wild. And so I said, no, you're not. And she says, no, I am wild. And I said, no, you're not. And she said, yes, I am. And she sat back like this, like, you don't know how wild I am. And so I said, okay, well, if you want to be wild, there are plenty other people here who you can be wild with. However, I'm not one of them. And when I left lunch, I just couldn't understand that because this is law school. Like, it's rigorous. Undergrad is different. You may be able to get away with, frat parties and sorority parties and, getting down and, but I guess if you're going to do that, that's what undergrad is for. If you're coming to grad school, spending a truckload of money on tuition every year, you want to come to law school to be wild? All right. The last note that I'd like to address here, I think, is also that my dean, a different dean, contacted me. I'm from New York City. So another dean contacted me because there was another student who's also contemplating coming to my school from New York City, but he's a bit concerned about the transition, which is completely understandable. I called him last night and I left a message. I haven't heard back from him yet, and I may or may not. But what I would say to him and anyone else who is considering moving from a city to a rural area or an area that's just unlike one that you are accustomed to coming from, is that you have to really know who you are. And I don't mean know who you are because you want to be wild and you want to party. I mean, if that's where your aim is, if that's your goal, if that's like a concern, I really question whether or not um, you've matured enough to take on the responsibilities of law school. Aside from that, I mean, if you know you're just far more comfortable in a city environment, then you need to really look at law schools and consider those seriously that are in city areas. If, like me, you grew up in a city area, but you were really, really open to considering a rural environment, then, be open to that. I know for me, I found myself really, really stressed and thought that this type of environment would be a welcome change. And it's proven to be just that. But if you went to an undergrad that's a really big university, and you were comfortable in that kind of an environment, then you already know that if you wanted to go, if you were accepted, or if you wanted to consider applying at a law school that was just as big, then you are already familiar with that kind of environment. For me, I went to a small college, and I knew that I liked a small environment. I don't want to be a number. I want to be able to pop into a professor's office and say, hey, do you have a second? And they may or not have a second, may or may not have a second. But my point is that I wanted to have that option. I wanted to feel like I could really reach out to my professors and have them reach out to me as well. Like, I'll walk down the hall in my school and I have a professor say, hey, Kelly, how you doing? That's important to me. I want somebody to check and come see about me. And I didn't think that a larger law school I would have that. Okay, so number one, know what you're looking for. If you know that you're not going to be comfortable in a small town, then you need to look at cities that have law schools. The young lady that I spoke of earlier, she knew she wanted to be a city. I don't even know why she was up here looking around. Number two, the size of the law school that you're going to consider. If you went to a small college, then you should consider small law schools. But if you went to a large university and maybe for whatever reason you would not be as comfortable in a small law school, then you know that. And you should consider factors such as, the accessibility that you'll have to faculty and staff. Do you want a school where professors have strict office hours, or do you want to have the flexibility of maybe, walking down the hall and thinking, oh, I wonder if I can ask my civil procedure professor a quick question, or I wonder if I can catch my dean and ask a quick question. For me, those were things that were really important. My phone is ringing. All right. Those are just a couple of tips that I'm sharing now, and I will be back with more. All right. Take care. Have a great one. I'm actually need to get to class right now. Later.